Hi, Noche citizens. This is Isaiah Cruz, aka Bella Noche, for a very special episode of Cocktails and Contours. It's our reunion episode, and I'm here joined with the first four queens that had joined me up until this point. So just going down the road, we have with us Gilda Wabbit.
Hi, everybody.
We have Gina Tonic.
Hello.
We have Miss Emmy Grate.
Hi.
And we have Avant Garbage.
Hey, everybody.
Careful with that fan bitch. Anyway, so we're here because the Cocktails and Contours has been going on for officially this is our fifth one, and so we want to do something a little special. You guys have been great, and we've had people tuning in every week. So thank you for joining us. But today I wanted to take a little time and bring all these queens back to talk about what Spoiler Noche kind of stands for, and that is New York City. And drag is so prevalent in New York City now. And there's so many talented queens out there. I found some of the better ones, but
So you thought.
So I thought we'll see how this goes. And we just wanted to talk a little bit, create some discussion about how New York City affects drag queens, and not just in general, but as individuals. There's so many things that go on in the city, whether you're a career, whether you're an artist, whether you're just living in the city, that meld and shape your life. So I think we could show a little light and show you guys some of the stuff that we go through living in New York City and participating in this really fabulous art of ours. I'm going to ask Gina first. She was our first guest, our first ever guest for Cocktails and Contours. So if you could say something about how New York City has either affected your drag or shaped your drag, what would be your answer to that?
You know, I'm a big theater queen, and New York City is the land of Broadway and theater. So I think my drag has really become shaped by Broadway. You know, I'm really inspired. I'll go see a show, but oh, that costume is fabulous, and that song that was fabulous, and the recycled land.
That's inspiration is everywhere. Do you guys seem like, you know, is inspiration your main thing as far as New York City, or is it something a little different?
Definitely, I am inspired by everything from the trash on the ground. The other day I was walking and it was right after a rainstorm, and there was just this rain puddle, and there was all this like oil floating at the top of it. And it was so iridescent and like just like really shiny, and I'm always attracted to shiny things. I'm like, ooh, a soda can too. And that's definitely influenced my drag. Like I'm always looking at the ground now for like little random things I can
You find some crazy stuff on the street. Sometimes you're lucky and you find like a $20 bill, but
It's true.
no, seriously, you find everything from money to like
syringes.
Stay in the trash.
It's true. It's sometimes the used ones can be fun if you meet the right people.
Oh.
Joking. No drugs.
Wait,
So-
you use condoms and drugs? How did that?
Oh, she missed it. I said condoms. We were still on syringe.
She would think I would say condoms though.
Yeah.
Sex positive, very sex positive here. What would you say is something that, much like I love your example with the oil, what's something you think that has specifically inspired you that you've seen around the city? It could be a small little thing.
Okay. I am personally really inspired by. So I was a visual artist when I was younger. Before I became a performer, I was a visual artist. So I'm really inspired by paintings and illustration, and there's so many beautiful illustrations and posters that I could put up all around New York City, and you can like go to the MoMA, you can go to the Met, and you can see these beautiful exhibits. And so I take a lot of inspiration from the art and the visual art in the city, the graffiti in the city. There's so much that is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I live in Queens, and like all over our trains,
yeah.
there's so much beautiful graffiti that really inspires me. It's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And as someone who came to New York City from an entire other country, how does New York City inspire you?
Well, since I came to New York City, I've always lived with the Burmese immigrant community because I'm originally from Burma, and what I gravitate towards most is the lived narratives of people. And there are 8 million people in the city, and most people have very unique experiences in their 5 boroughs and how we interact with each other. And for example, I live all the way to Brooklyn, and you guys live in Queens, and you live in Harlem. What do you live? Washington Heights. So uptown.
Yeah.
And how we came to be and how everything intersects. The dynamic is really interesting because sometimes we just go about our lives and not interact, but also sometimes we interact and we get to create more acts.
Right.
And Gilda Wabbit and I actually host a Thursday night show together, and we come from very vast backgrounds, but we have made an artistic connection.
Well, that's great, and that's one of the things about New York City is just like you can make a friend every day that you never would have thought you'd talk to your entire life. The number of people that I've met just out and drag, people that are visiting, people that have lived here all their lives, and everything in between. You just never know who you're gonna meet on a daily basis. It's kind of crazy.
Amy, Grate and I. Oh, were you gonna say this?
To say this.
We met on Grindr
Back in
when I was in Kentucky and she was in Southern Indiana.
Who says Grindr doesn't produce relationships?
Right.
I know.
My profile said like, I love comedy, politics, and drag, and the first message I got from her was like, "Are you a drag queen?" And I like just started doing drag, so I was like, I mean, I'm not into it, and then
That's the best thing about Grindr in the Midwest, because in New York City, if you're on Grindr, there's 100 people within 5 feet of you.
Right.
But if you're in Kentucky and Indiana, they're literally the next closest to one another.
right. She was probably like, I don't know what,
50 miles
miles away, and we still saw each other on Grindr. Yeah.
It's interesting to think about how much technology has like brought. When I was younger, before the internet, like there was no way to meet other gay youth.
Yeah.
You would have to like be out like at a club. XY.com was like a huge thing at the time.
And Craigslist.
MySpace chat rooms.
Those are the
Before the
hardcore
internet,
fans.
Craigslist.
I would always search like gay chat rooms, like
Right.
people.
I mean, relating to that, in other places, it's kind of hard to meet people, and there are so many people around here, and it's not just meeting and sitting next face to face with each other. It's just tracing the stories back and finding common things
Yeah.
and also differences and celebrating.
And I
each
find
other.
that drag is such a great vehicle for that, and to meet somebody
Yeah.
and learn. You have an instant open when you are hosting or performing, or people come up to you and they just want to tell you their entire lives.
They do. It's crazy.
And it's really, really interesting. There's the sheer amount of vision that I've got. I mean, I was born and raised in New York City, so I was here all my life, and doing drag in New York City has shown me this other side of New York City that is very open and welcoming. Everyone, like you said, has a story and they want it to be told.
Yeah.
So they see this queen who's telling their own story, and we're just bubbly and personable, or look fierce, or we capture them in a performance and they just want to talk.
Yeah.
And it's great.
In drag,
kind
we
of
become
awesome.
this other character, but still,
Yeah.
there is a truer self that shows through this
Right.
facade.
But I feel like that sometimes that's more easily done in New York City, say, than
Yes,
other towns.
I think when I came to New York City, I was a friendly but utterly self-conscious young man from the Midwest. Do you know what I mean? And if I started doing drag in Kentucky, the kind of queen that I would be so influenced by the fear and the like self-loathing that I had inside of myself. But New York City brought out of me this confident individual who didn't need validation and could allow themselves to be who they truly are, and that's been such a privilege to experience.
It's a really good
yeah,
point.
yeah.
I
Well,
love
not
that.
to knock that, like, someone in a small town could become, like,
Oh,
No,
no,
absolutely.
big
They're
fish.
successful.
But that's
businesses.
my
Yeah.
experience
Yeah.
personally
Yeah.
from coming from a smaller town in Kentucky is that it was not a good place for me.
Right.
And coming to New York was
Yeah,
wonderful for me.
absolutely.
Yeah.
moral of the story, get out of your hometown and come to New York.
Go ahead. There was
Just travel, I think, is important.
right.
Yeah.
There was. I remember when I was younger. Even growing in New York City, I knew about all these places, but I was just like, I don't want to go. So I feel like where you are, whether you're in the middle of nowhere or you are in the middle of everything, you have this desire, just like let's go out and explore.
Right.
I feel like that's a critical point
There's
of
so much
any
going on
drag,
there.
because you're always growing, you're always evolving, you're always trying new things. And like I said, I think New York City is like a perfect conduit for all of that.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it gets crazy sometimes. There's some interesting people that you meet. There's some very interesting situations. I actually took the train here today and faced. I never take the train. My boyfriend drives me everywhere. I'm so fucking lucky.
Yeah.
But, I'm
spoiled.
Just
That's for sure. We're spoiled in
Nice.
NC.
Anyway, so I took the train today I've taken the train in drag before, but I haven't done it a lot. And like, I've forgotten what it was like just to stand there and have everyone just kind of look at you. And like, not like that kind of look when you see someone cute and you look away, like when they're staring at you.
Like, who is that
Like,
freak?
Right, and like the earlier in the day you do it, the more looks you get.
Right.
And I came down like at the tail end of rush hour.
Yeah.
So I'm like on the seat, like trying not to look up with like my hand. And it's just like, it's interesting. Do you guys, because I know almost all of you always travel by train,
I
correct?
just had a picture taken of me
Right.
the other day at brunch. I had a picture taken of me. I'm like, my bags are here. I'm like man spreading a little too much, and there's like a woman in like a full burqa like sitting next to me. And so our picture ended up on Subway Creatures.
Something like
It's
that,
called. It's
yeah.
like an Instagram.
That's
thing called
amazing.
Subway Creatures. Yeah, because I am always in full drag on the train.
Right.
One of my favorite memories, if I may,
Yes.
it was an earlier time in drag. I just hosted a Tony Awards party, And I'm a little brave. I have a little too much chutzpah. And so I was like in this gown that was like really skimpy with like a long train and then this like long red hair, like falling asleep on the train at 2 a.m. And this gentleman wakes me up to start like yelling at me. He's like calling me a faggot, like asking me why I'm dressing like this, and all of a sudden, like 3 women and this other guy stand up from their seats and like get in front of me and push him out the door at the next stop.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, that's awesome.
I never knew this story.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, there's like 2 opposite reactions of it. There's like the sort of angry or like very like loving. So it was the very like very interactive.
There's either no reaction or an extreme
right.
reaction.
Or you're like as good as a homeless person. Like I will find as soon as it's 2 a.m. Like there's like a homeless guy, a lot of empty space. Me, a lot of empty space, and like everybody else sitting on the side, they're afraid of us. Right. We're weird to them, And I don't mind. I need a lot of space.
I was gonna say when I'm trying to train, I don't care. Like give me all the space. I have like a bag here,
Yeah.
Take off my wig, it's gonna be set right there.
Today all I have is 1 tote bag, but usually I have like 6. I mean, you guys all know.
Yeah.
6 giant IKEA bags because a lot of stuff.
No, it is, and the subways have always been really interesting to me. But now, like taking him to drag, it's even more interesting because now I'm the interesting one.
Right.
Like you just, and you don't have to do anything because it's all visual. You're just there, and it's just like, yep, and you can feel it. You can feel the heat on your body, and everyone's looking at me.
But taking cabs can be weird sometimes too, because there's weird interactions with cab drivers. Like one people that hit
I
me.
never get hit on more than when I'm in a cab.
These
That's interesting.
cab drivers, some freaks. Like let me, they're there.
Receipts.
Yes.
We want the
Yes.
receipts.
It's
It's an interesting dichotomy on the subway though, because I feel like as soon as showtime starts, or as soon as
Right.
like a person who might not have a house gets on, there's almost like an eagerness to avert your eyes.
Right.
Like I don't want them to see me because I don't want to give them money.
Right.
But when you're on like full display, and I mean we talk about this all the time. Like it's like I actually don't want to go into gender. Just
It has to do more with the space and what that space allows, because it's a train car, it's fully lit, there is space. You can interact.
horrible.
You can
Yeah, it's so
interact
horrible.
directly,
Right.
but there is not as much confidentiality.
Right.
Oh, there's none.
Yeah.
There's none.
I've never
business.
taken the subway in drag.
Oh.
I don't feel safe.
You've never taken the subway drag.
Well, when I started doing drag, I was living in Bed-Stuy,
Okay.
and it wasn't like
And
necessarily
there
the
were
safest
walks.
area, and it was a far walk from
Yeah.
the train.
Right.
That's not always
And
the
now I'm in
That's
Washington Heights, which is generally safer, but I just feel it's a personal choice. I don't feel safe.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had the option,
I applaud you,
probably
like
wouldn't,
evening gown, 2 a.m. on the train. I just
If I can afford
My-
it.
a lot of risk.
My parents are not happy with that decision. Like, they don't like that I take the train. They're
Because
always
you-
worried
the
about
media-
me.
But
because I'm
now,
supposed to, like, save
now you
the
still
train.
take the train, but you just do it with face and you feel the fantasy.
Well, it depends on where I'm going, but yeah.
Yeah,
And I also,
that's what you do mostly these days.
I also get really ballsy. I don't know what this is about me, but like the other day, a gentleman like took a picture of me, and I like walked on Twitter and I was like, if you're gonna treat me like a zoo exhibit, you need to give me $1. Like,
Well, that was at your show too.
right, but I was like in public. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A gentleman outside, like a big dude, like took a picture of me, and I walked out the door and was like, "You owe me $1 because you were treated like a zoo exhibit." And like, it's.
Well, listen, when the rent's gotta get paid, the rent's
I
gotta
know.
get paid.
If I end up in a gutter somewhere, that's my fault. But like, that's, you know what I mean? Like,
Gilda
But you were trying to
advocating
exert
for the
your power.
zoos of America.
No, she did the same thing when I was hosting a bingo. We were on stage. Guy walks by the window, takes a picture. She was like, "No, hold up," and runs out
with the mic
door.
in hand.
So she's outside in the whole market here. I'm just like, "Sure, I'll go for it."
Right.
It
was
B.
really
Well, that's
tight.
how I like to be political in drag. Is to like accost like straight dudes who treat me poorly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I love. Ooh, can
It's
I
not
just
just
power
heterosexual
dynamics.
men that treat drag queens poorly, though.
That's true.
It's not.
That's true.
No, it's not.
That's true.
There was I think one of the first times I took the train. It was the first time I took the train back drag by myself, and they didn't directly come at me, but you could tell that there was a group over there that was like looking and laughing and like kind of pointing whatever.
Yeah.
And it was my first train drag, so I was like too terrified to do anything. And this guy, like big black guy, like came over and he like looked at them. They stopped. He was just like, "You're beautiful. Ignore them," and walked off the train.
Perfect.
And I was just like, it gave me like the confidence to keep going.
I actually
like,
find-
on the train.
Amy, please, no. You want to say something?
We were talking yesterday when we were out shopping about
Yeah.
how different people treat people who are genderqueer,
Yeah.
in, especially people who drag queens, and you find a different dynamic between straight men, straight women, and white men, white women, and people of color.
Yes. Absolutely. So like.
And we were talking about the interactions we had So mention that a little bit, and then I want to talk about the lack of interaction
Yeah.
when you're in drag.
So when Amy and I were talking about this, a dark-skinned woman had just opened the door for us and let us through, and
It was a shoe store.
it was a shoe store. I had no eyebrows. I was like in a fur coat. We were like talking about faggoty things, and she like made space
You were
for us.
in drag or you were?
I was
We
out
were
of drag,
out of
but,
drag, but like we were holding
I
hands.
looked very much like a reject Tim Burton character out of
Yeah.
drag, with like no eyebrows and like
You
eyebrows.
did.
Right. And I said to Amy, I find it really interesting because white people tend to avert their eyes. And men, white women especially, and men tend to, of all colors, tend to like talk to me in a negative way, but women of color are they always have my back.
Wait,
They're always
you're talking about when you're in drag or out of drag?
when I'm in drag, but like, that's why I'm in
in or out of
shows.
drag usually.
Yeah,
I'm a very attractive man when I'm out of drag, so people don't really it's very often.
that's great. But like, I find that really interesting that it's sort of like,
No, here's the thing.
yeah,
There is an overlap between queer culture and the language that women of color use,
Mhm.
especially among
Appropriate,
women.
yeah.
Right.
It's a cycle that goes
I
around.
mean, like the yes and all that stuff, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
women
because
of
they
color.
are not
Yeah. Yeah.
they're not accepted by white masculinity and they're rejected by white femininity, they gravitate towards colored
Exactly.
femininity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would completely agree with that.
And that is the same
And
thing.
to bring it full circle, we are very blessed to be living in a city that exposes us to so much of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if we were living in the Midwest, we wouldn't have this influence for our drag.
Absolutely.
We wouldn't be privy to be seeing
Right,
witnessing
You know,
these
and
things.
that's why I have so much respect for drag queens like in the Midwest, in the South that
Right.
like are doing, especially like now like the ones who have done it for years, the ones that are just starting. Like that's not an easy thing to
Especially
do.
because
There's
the
so much
opportunity
more.
for violence is so much more great.
Of
in our
course,
world.
yeah, you don't have that kind of support. Like, odds are when you're walking down the block in New York City and someone's accosting you, there's someone in the vicinity who
There's- yeah.
There's
That's
a police
really-
officer on the corner
Right.
assaulting a man of color.
There's just like, oh wait, no, the white person needs help. We'll be back.
And
Yeah.
when queens post about interactions with the police from other areas, it's usually some kind of a celebration like I survived this interaction.
right,
Yeah,
right.
Like it's
yeah.
not
There's a
just
huge, it's a huge.
I live
kind of
in
thing.
Washington Heights, a couple of blocks from Britta Filter, and if you don't know who Britta Filter is, she's one of the hardest working drag queens
She's
in New York
amazing.
City.
Love her.
But she is a big man and a large woman. She's 6'4",
Yeah, no
and
one's fucking with
easily,
that.
she looks like she's
Like she could fuck
beautiful,
you up.
but she looks like she would like Clydesdale kick you down a flight of stairs.
Right.
And she got attacked in Washington Heights. She had to run into a deli.
Yeah.
I remember that.
She's
Yes,
gonna
I
be
know
fucking
about
with
that.
Like we're like you
It
know.
was last winter?
Yeah, very very.
It was,
nice.
yeah, it wasn't too long ago.
So you're never fully safe, no
Right.
matter what you look like.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
And also Miss Cracker recently did an interview with a French magazine, I think, and she was talking about things may get worse after the election. That was just before the election. Things may get worse after the election, but the truth is queer people have never been safe.
Never.
Oh, never.
There's like an illusion of
Yeah.
safety.
It feels
Yeah.
safe here too.
There are a lot of things that are horrifying about this election, but it sort of broke a cycle of complacency, I think.
Oh,
in a lot,
absolutely.
especially
Like,
as a
you
queer
have to
white
pay
person.
attention.
Right.
Especially
you have to
yeah.
pay attention. There's no
Absolutely.
choice in the matter. But you know, again, it's still nice living in a city where, on the scale of like what you're really worried about and what could happen, it's kind of on the lower scale of the cities in the United States
It's true.
to be in right now. Also, for all of you watching, I'm so sorry. All of you watching, if you guys have any questions that you want to ask us, or whatever, feel free. We have people looking, and if you guys if they have a good question, we'll call you out.
You can ask me why I'm so beautiful.
That's not a question. don't
Speaking
worry.
of safety within the city, some of you know this about me. I have actually been kicked out of a hostel because of my drag.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was my first week in New York City.
You
And
were
this
jealous.
was since
So you were moving into the city.
I was moving into the
Okay.
city. This was summer
Who
2015.
cares?
And this place had agreed to host me for 3 months. But I was gonna pay month by
What
month.
hostel was this?
It was in Washington Heights. I don't remember
Let's
the name.
blast them out. Don't go
Nice.
there.
And
She's
on
like, yeah,
first
do it.
Friday, it was gonna be my first night out. I was getting ready, and the owner came and was like, "You can't stay. You're making us lose customers, and you're taking up too much space. You have to go by Monday."
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. How long ago was this? Because
Summer 2015.
Okay,
So
still
like
huge
right
here.
before
Wow.
the racial equality passed and stuff.
That's, you know, and that's the other thing. There's been so much progress in such little time
Yeah.
over the past few years. So, because like that now, that's like a Channel 7 news story. Like someone moving to the city is thrown out because she was a drag queen. Like, yeah, that, you know. Ugh.
Do you think it was Drag Race? Like bringing that into the mainstream culture?
I think
what's that lip sync battle show?
Oh right.
right.
That's really
Yeah,
It's
interesting
like
too.
appropriation of
Right.
gay men appropriating women of
into
color,
into straight culture.
people.
Yeah,
Right.
I definitely think that it had a big influence on people who didn't know what drag was, really
Right.
didn't understand it, people who didn't recognize it as an art form, and saw it as like, oh, these are people. We're all people under here. Like, yes, we have.
The ratings for the last season were higher on VH1 than they were for Logo.
Right.
Yeah,
So
so
it's
that
like,
was that was
for
essentially.
sexuals that don't have Logo television that are watching it on VH1.
And they're just like, oh my god. So yeah, I think that it completely. I feel like there was this hard line where you thought of a drag queen, you immediately thought of like Divine and Lady Bunny, and
Right.
like, people who were just like huge things. But now it's just like no, like all these people, and you could know
There are
someone
also
that's
different
doing
ways to do
drag.
drag.
Right, and you can. There's so many people that are not out with their drag. You can know someone who does drag and has this whole side, and you're just like, oh my gosh, you do it. You know, it's an art form. It's a way to express yourself.
Gina and I, with our brunch and our show at Tonic Bar, have been trying to move into heterosexual audiences because now there's like we live in a city with such a saturated group of queens. There's so many queens that you have to make space for yourself. So we've
Yeah.
moved into not gay venues because it's acceptable now.
Well, that's
and
entertaining.
And
Yeah,
we should demand for it too.
Right.
We should do a hostile invasion.
A hostile takeover.
And
With
then
Viva la
hostile
Bella
Right,
Part
exactly.
two.
That would be awesome.
It's all about it.
No, but that's a great point. There's a lot of
There's a big
traditionally
demand
straight
for it.
bars that are doing like drag queens. You guys are doing brunch, not even just bars, restaurants and stuff that are like
Right.
seeing that there's a market for it. There are people that respond and like.
And the
want to
audience
see it.
really changed to be like white teenage girls too a lot. Like we were at
Huge
Tonic
on
Bar a couple
Instagram.
days ago.
Yeah, in the middle of
Yeah.
Times Square at like 4 p.m.
Yeah, these little young teenage girls who come up to us like we were celebrities, like or Mickey Mouse and Elma on the street getting photos of us.
And the ones really dressed in Mickey Mouse are staring at you. They're going to kill you.
Right.
Right.
Well, I was like, but we should like be taking tips for this.
I know.
Like they do. They get what $5-10 for a picture.
Yeah,
Like,
it's horrible.
but
Times
even like
Square
some of my
costume.
biggest followers are like 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old girls.
Yeah, like those ones. There's an entire like. You're the one who told me about this. There's an entire like drag race competition with all like preteens
yes.
that are pretending
on
to be like.
Instagram.
You told me about that. Like they're serious.
And they
They're
sort of like,
serious.
well, it's like a
There's
role playing game.
elimination.
We used to role
Yeah,
playing games.
yeah. It's like
knights.
yeah. It's like LARPing.
dragons
It's
and-
like LARPing
But it's
on
on
Instagram.
They'll use real photos of real drag. Like they'll play as like
I'm Sasha
the drag
Velour.
queen. They'll play Sasha Velour.
Yeah.
Right, and then there's like judges, and they post on Instagram like, okay, post your most sickening like dragon themed look, and then they'll all will either like Photoshop like a picture of like Ben Le Creme onto a dragon costume,
Yeah.
or they find something from the TV show that's similar that works, and it's crazy.
That's so
And these
Yeah.
Instagram drag races or drag runway rashes,
Yeah,
they call them.
runway rush.
Was one of them. Some of them have had more seasons than RuPaul's Drag Race because they will go. I mean, these
There's
kids
no
are
off season.
Very
there's
low
no off
budget.
season.
There's no off-season.
and like there's a new episode
Also,
every
if
day.
they're not
essentially.
happy, they'll break up and do their own.
Right. Well, it was funny because like some of the like I was like one morning, one Saturday morning, I was sitting in bed scrolling their Instagram, reading all about this, and to sign up to like be a part of one of the requirements is you have to be like very active online. Like they want people who are like going to be constantly playing, so the turnover rate is so high. It's just so funny, yeah.
It even seeps into real life. Like the girls from Drag Coven, if I'm not mistaken, started by like cosplaying as these drag race queens, and now they create looks of their own and do like high concept things and are performing. But like it was something that they would do at the beginning. They were just like copy these queens because it's aspirational.
Right.
It's aspirational for me. I want to be a Ru girl.
Sure.
Do you think back in the day, New York City was like the epicenter of drag, and now with the advent of like Instagram and things, drag is becoming such a wide mainstream thing where like now teenagers are doing these things online. Do you think us having to adapt and conform to heterosexual brunch is our method of surviving?
Oh, yes.
Because
Absolutely, yeah.
because
I
gay
mean,
bars are closing so frequently.
well, and you had brought it up. It's the same reason why I think that Drag Race is like, no, we're going to put it on VH1 too.
Right.
You know, we need these new mediums and points of contact and points of exposure because it's like, no, we're not that just different. We're just a different form of entertainment.
There are
Because
even-
we should be segregated.
There are even gay bars that girls worked at, and I'm going professional, not say names because I'm trying to work in the city, but like that have said to a queen, like, you cannot support Hillary Clinton like this so publicly. You cannot make jokes about Donald Trump. You cannot be this political on stage because they know that like the audience that's coming in to their bar is more mixed, it's less queer, it's less radical, it's less
I mean, all it is censorship in
Right.
New York City, and we don't like that. So
No, it's marketing yourself. It's being sad.
yeah,
Right.
It's playing a game.
you have to work within the system and like try to break it down along the way as you
Because
can.
at the end of the day, like, sure, you want to be political, you want to change minds, you want to do sort of your job as a drag queen, but we all have bills to pay. You don't want to lose that gig. You don't want to lose the money. I hate to say that, but it's true.
With that, I want to segue into another topic. I've been talking about this a little bit: drag as art and drag as craft. And very often in
Drag
New York
as
City,
what?
because
Art
art
as
and drag as
craft.
craft. Because in New York City, because there's such a saturation, and we end
Well, how
up
would you
seeing a
define
lot of expertise. In terms of craft, I would.
That's like your technical abilities, right?
Technical abilities. I would think of things like: can you sing well? Can you dance well? Can you sew? Can you style hair?
Can you paint your face?
Can you paint your face? But in terms of art, it's like, what's the point of this?
Your
Right.
content.
Your content.
I can, yeah.
And sometimes
you have to compromise those two.
How much does it blur together for you?
Well, obviously, I only know how to paint my face.
We know, girl.
Like, I come from a visual art background and then also an operatic background where, like, in the opera world, craft is everything. Do you know what I mean? Because you're...
It's my favorite macaroni and cheese.
Oh, I like Annie's. I prefer Annie's.
Get your gun.
But like, and from a visual art standpoint, it's so much more about content. Even if your craft is not very good, like you can sell a story, and if you sell that story to somebody that moves somebody. And so I separate the two. Like, I don't think they blur. Like, my craft is being able to, like,
Can you?
yeah.
I think they blur. They have to blur, I think, because, like, you know...
They can blur, but you can think of them as separate entities too.
Okay, maybe I just think of them as separate entities, even though they affect each other.
Well, I think your craft can have... I think you're a good example. Your craft can have a meaning. I mean, you know, you're a good paint... You paint your face well, but yet the things sometimes you draw shapes and figures and things on your face that mean things and are part of your art as a queen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also since like where you come from, like you who have the singing background and stuff, and you who like sew and that did this for work before.
Right.
For like me, I was discouraged from all of that when I was a kid. I wanted to take singing, I wanted to take dance, I wanted to do that, and my parents were like, no, we want you to do something that's more concrete that'll save you. So like all of my singing, dancing, all that experience was learned through like choir class and electives where I took theater and dance. So it's like
But what did they push you towards?
logic things, like
And you're the one running the show, getting us thousands and thousands.
No, I
of views.
know.
Makes
Well,
you a
but I'm
great
just-
social media.
Right, and so I'm just saying
Yeah.
where you, and it depends where you
I
find
don't really
craft.
see a difference between the two. Between
Well,
art
for
and
you, for
craft.
instance, like your Jackie Kennedy number, like is, you know, it has art, has meaning. Yeah, there's
Right.
craft behind your vocal talent.
But I think my craft is separate because my craft is just a conduit through which my art can go. Like,
That's true.
I practice my craft
Sure,
separately.
of course.
I practice.
I feel like
painting,
I would like,
copying
like
people,
craft is
so
like
I
the
can
level of what your talent and your art is, how you use your talent to project your.
Wait, I want to hear what Avant has to say about how you don't have the blurred lines.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah.
I just think they go hand in hand together. I can't really separate the two.
Well, this is what you were saying, though,
It's
isn't it?
too.
Yeah.
It's too gray in the sense that like I can't fathom my lifetime and place into my feeble human head how my craft has not been influenced by art and vice
Right.
versa over a lifetime.
I agree.
Like I make wigs out of mops for Christ's sakes. What is that art or is that craft?
Well, I think it's your own personal
I think
definition
it's
of it
both.
is because it's your
Of course it's
aesthetic. You're the
both.
only one that can define that for yourself.
You're the only one that can define that for yourself.
It's
True. The more you know.
But also-
This is the moral of the story.
But also when defining it, it depends on how you define it. In terms of art, what is your content? It can be visual, it can be a feeling.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, for me, it's usually like stories of where I come from and where other people come from and where we meet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is. Like, Drake, it's so different for everybody. Like, you can have aesthetics that like blur whether you know, like you actually like look like a woman or you know you go completely against the grain and do it. But like, I feel like there's so many ways that we communicate with each other that are influenced. Like, I don't think I would have been friends with as close friends with any of you if it hadn't been for drag.
Right.
Sure,
You know,
of course, yeah.
And it's just it's
I would
like
have never
this-
met any of you.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe
But
you,
like-
maybe you,
But
Alex.
we met though because of Instagram.
True.
Because I posted a picture of me in drag next to a
Right.
sign that was near the story Bullride stop.
Right.
Yeah.
We met because of drag, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
So like
Maybe
it's
just
just
because we were thirsty.
I know. I have a grinder problem. Mom, don't listen.
What are your names again?
Yes!
At least for you.
Right. But that's where I get a lot of guys who come to my shows because Gilda has a grinder profile.
Right.
And so like if they'll
Did they let you keep the profile photo?
Yes.
I tried to upload Avant to my boy profile and they were like, it was flagged because it wasn't a page.
Really?
They've
That's
never
like
reported
Facebook
me.
stuff.
And
You have two
separate profiles. I like will delete
Oh,
Grindr and
okay,
open
okay,
Grindr
okay.
again and put on my Gilda profile. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like that's why I get guys to my shows. They'll be like, oh my god, show me more of you. And I'm like, you can see more of you if you come to Albatross Bar at 9 p.m. on Monday.
NYC's number one
It's $100.
Right? Please chase me right to my show.
Right?
That's what I want.
We use whatever we
I'll
can.
take
to
your
get
money
people
and kick
there.
you back out.
Right.
Most of my chases are in Sri Lanka, so they can't come here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll take you to Asia with me.
Oh.
But like one of the best things about New York City is like the ability to be different. You almost
Right.
have to be
You
different.
do.
Well, no, that was my
Yeah.
next point. That was the
Yeah.
next point because there's, even like, I hate to, keep going back to Drag Race, but if you look at the first seasons of Drag Race versus the newest seasons of Drag Race, it's all about standing out. And I feel like that comes with being a drag queen in New York City. If you don't stand out,
Right.
you get lost.
Right.
Where I feel like other
But
queens
also
outside of
those
cities,
girls.
there's like a thing. It's just like, no, we're just gonna be pretty, or no, we're just gonna be a singer.
Like the Philly queens
you know?
are all very similar.
So it's
A lot of
like-
the LA queens are very similar.
Yeah, New York City, you have to be different. That's why there's been so many New York City drag queens on Drag Race.
Yeah, and this season there's
Yeah.
4.
This season there's 4.
And
They
they're all
keep getting more.
vastly different.
Yeah.
Soon it's just gonna be like all New York girls on Drag Race, and there's gonna be like one LA.
They could do a whole New
one
York season, yeah,
outside.
they
Yeah,
could.
they could
could.
do New York and the West. They could do like an East Coast and a West Coast and
Yeah,
a West season.
that would
They got the
be-
house
And like the
vibes.
adventures, they can just come together.
Yeah. So coming back to standing out in New York, how did you guys? Was it something in you that said, no, this is what I'm going to stand out for, or was it something that just kind of came out and people started saying, I recognize you because of this, that, and the third?
Yeah. Can I?
Yeah, please.
So I recently changed my name. I used to be Beverly Leslie Sills, like I mentioned. I don't know if I mentioned. I used to be Beverly Leslie Sills, and I changed my name because I had gotten to this point where I was like, I'm blending into the background. Like I'm trying to make this a career. There are all of these girls who have this like strong perspective and this strong idea, and mine isn't coming across. And I had to evolve. You know what I mean? I had to change what I was doing. And so I changed my name to Gilda Wabbit, which references different things and like encouraged me to be more of a comedian.
It's like a Looney Tune.
Right.
Yeah,
It's like still a classical
Yes.
music
I
reference.
saw it. I heard it the second time, and I was like, oh, I got it. It's brilliant.
And so I needed to be, actually it's more of the fullness of myself. It's more true to myself because I have these classical music influences and I love being like a pretty girl, but I also have these like this love for animation, this love for illustration and cartoons. And so now that I've embraced more of Sam, more of the boy beneath the drag queen in my drag, I find myself to stand out more. And I'm working so much more now,
It's true.
which is a blessing.
Well, I feel like once you actually embrace like what it is that makes you different, what it is that you stand out for, that's when people take notice.
Right.
You know, because you've always been a fierce performer, you've always been a looker, but now that you've found this identity and you actually have fun with it, like that's why I do the mermaid thing, because I have just fun with it. I love, like when I was younger, I legitimately wanted to be a marine biologist.
Word.
And so like now like I'm just incorporating all these like nautical things because like that is like my style. Like I want a beach themed bathroom. Like so it's just like you find these passions that you want to do,
Right.
and you use them. I mean, I know you told last time, but because your drag story is really really fascinating with your character.
Yeah, I won't go back into it, but you can reference Spoiled NYC's page. My backstory was had to do with Monster High toy line.
Work.
But I was influenced by that. I created the Trash Queen, became the Trash Queen. From day one, I was different from the other drag queens, and still am. It's a blessing and a curse, more of a blessing now. But when I first started out, I tried so hard to find like a family or a drag mom, and I was like, I have this concept. I want to make everything out of trash and use trash and do mop. And these girls were like, good luck.
Right.
And I'm like, thriving now. But I had a really difficult time breaking out in Brooklyn. The Brooklyn queens were not supportive of me, which is why I moved to Washington Heights. I was in Brooklyn for close to 9 years.
I'm surprised that Brooklyn didn't support you.
They
I was
would
just thinking
now.
that.
I'm getting more like offers for bookings in Brooklyn now
Right.
than when I was living there.
Right.
Before though,
Because it was probably a
just
different
like-
scene back then.
It was a different scene back then. Drag's evolved differently since
Yeah.
then.
Right.
Some of the queens that were in charge of the bookings are different now.
Mm.
Yeah.
There's just so much different but I'm happy to be in Manhattan. But I have really embraced being different because it's once making me stand out.
Right.
But also, like, it is who I am. I
Yeah.
really enjoy this character, this brand that I've created.
Right.
Work.
It's very strong.
You need to, like, set yourself apart. You need to have your hook that, like, will make people notice you. Because I talk to these girls and I'm like, oh, what's your name? And it's like, oh, Susie Carmichael.
Right.
It's actually Rugrats character, but I'm like, before the audience sees you, before they look at you and lay eyes upon you, when they hear your name, they're already thinking about who you are.
Mhm.
Sure.
When I hear Gina Tonic, I think alcoholic. No,
But like,
ditzy, bubbly, playful blonde, you know, and it sells.
Yeah.
You're selling that. And you need to think about like your brand, and you need to think about how you're going to market yourself to people. And your name's your first foot forward.
So important.
and you should allow yourself, I think, if you evolve, if you find a new brand, if you suddenly find yourself gravitating towards
To
things,
adapt.
to adapt, to change, to grow.
Yeah.
Feel free to change your
I
name.
think
People
so.
do it all the time.
Have you found it to be difficult? Have you like lost any fan following? Or are you having to like explain?
I changed my name right before I went from having 2 gigs a week to 4 gigs a week. And my 2 gig a week fans stayed because I made connections with them as a person. I'm like, after the show or before the show, I will always go to someone and be like, hello, I'm Gilda Wabbit, nice to meet you, tell me about yourself, what's your name? I'll try
The
to
person
memorize
is
your
still
name.
the same.
Right, the person is the same.
New name, same great taste.
Right.
If the name corresponds better with the person,
Right.
it's all the
Right.
better.
Well, that's
It does.
Like you
Yeah.
may lose certain fans, but you will gain so much more.
Right.
Because now it's like extra memorable. You also have
Yeah.
a lot of less syllables now.
It's true, it's
So
true.
much
I have
It's
fans
happened
that
for
are
years.
Yeah, I used to say
Beverly, Leslie.
Right. Our
Yeah.
poor DJ on Thursdays, Beverly Leslie Seals. I just can't say your name because of all the eyes in it. God love him.
But no, that's I think it's
He doesn't sound like that,
But that's
he
what-
kind of mumbles that a little bit.
Right.
I
Does he have the
mumble
twang?
too.
Does he have that
Well,
twang?
him and I are both in the South, so he always rides me for like, he's like so grateful that Gilda
You're
Wabbit
giving
is
me
what she
the
said.
woman from Edward Scissorhands, which is like, Edward, will you cut my
Oh,
hair?
yeah.
But she's just like,
Listen,
That's a
that's
great
my
point of
people,
reference.
that's where I'm
the ones
from.
before or the last.
Will you please do like an Elmer Fudd number where you have like a gun from like Kentucky, like
Well, I think you have.
Gilda Wabbit.
That's my overture.
We kind of did it the other
And
day.
Emmy and I bluffed it. Emmy's always like, let's do an improv acting challenge. So I played the song, she's like, we're gonna do this number right now. It's a number now.
Word.
I do that with audience members. I do that with guests. And they're like, "What am I doing, please?"
And I was like, get ready guys, here we go.
So if you go to their show, beware.
Beware.
You will be in it.
No, this is the experience of an immigrant. You get into a new place, you don't know what's going on, and somebody pulls you into stuff and makes you do things.
And you
So-
become part of the community. You
Respect
become
that.
part of
She makes you part of the show.
Yeah.
I love that. I love
it's
that.
You're gonna drag.
I turned 2 in November.
It's so interesting that like you have a big name in New York City, and I'm
Do I?
so you think you could drag? I'm sure helped.
Yes, it
Did you have a difficult time like breaking in, or
I did not, because I had a lot of time to meditate on my look and my name and my ideas even before I came to New York City. By the time I came to New York City, I first came in summer 2015. I had already been practicing makeup since November and December 2014. So I don't like to
so
go
a
out.
year-long gestation period?
Yeah, I don't
the
like to go
butterfly.
out.
Right.
I don't like to go out and
No.
party on the weekends. So at school, I would stay in and practice makeup and try a new look every week. And when I first went out for the first time, the DJ invited me into the booth. The DJ was also a drag. And
Scandal.
There's too much to
And you gave
untuck.
him a
don't worry.
blowjob.
Too much to untuck.
We
No.
were there.
And I was I looked decent enough by myself to be recognized.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why you're so strong. You're such a visually striking presence every time you walk into a space. It's true. It's so, you. She knows this.
And also with the name choice.
At least she said thank you and not I know.
Oh my god! These are my friends, they know me too well. Also with my name, it had to be like, what is the essence of me?
Right.
And throughout my life, moving and changing and entering new spaces, looking for something new and better has been a constant. So I looked to the word emigrate and just put it in half. Like,
Well,
that's
I
me.
actually have a funny story because when the So You Think You Can Drag cast was announced,
Ah.
my friend was like, "Oh, this is who's on it," and they were just like saying it really quickly, and they were like, "Oh, and am I great?" And I thought it was like, "Am I great?"
I love
And
that.
I thought we were gonna be like, Meet me, I'm first. Like eager and like, am I great? Am I great? Am I great? And then I got it, and you did this like visually like striking like Burmese number on a wall, and I was like, oh.
Right.
And I like
So,
Yeah, I love it.
And I love working together. I sort of think that I have a little bit of like basic taste when it comes to some of my numbers. And
Do you though?
I think so.
I don't think
Anyway,
so.
that's
Go ahead.
that's fair. That's fine. But what I love about working with you is that you bring in so many different. You bring in such an international influence, and it's not just Burmese. You also pay attention to Swedish pop music and Eastern European pop music.
Yeah.
And you pay attention to
You taught me things.
all of these. She taught me how to do it, girl.
Oh.
It's true. But you bring such a global influence to what you do, which is so inspiring. and
Yeah,
so
like what she
beautiful.
said about when you think about her name should.
Right.
So it kind of goes back to like tying into my story of like growing up in a country that was shut off from the rest of the world. I was always curious about what is the rest of the world like.
Yeah.
So it's like grab whatever you can and incorporate it into your own life so that when you are in a new space, maybe you can find a connection.
Right.
It's true though.
And you make it sickening.
Your culture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow, culture.
And the
But,
rest of us are either
Yeah.
white and from the Midwest.
You guys will learn. You guys
Sorry,
will
I'm
learn.
mediocre.
Right. So we have a few minutes left, and just wrapping up about New York City, because all in all, even through all the people you interact with, the hardships and successes, it's a great place to perform. So, and there's just some crazy stuff. So I want one little anecdote from each of you, something unique and awesome that happened to you when you were in drag, like on the streets or with a person, just something that was just like, okay, yep, I like doing drag in New York. Should I go first?
You should go first.
Okay, I'll go first. So I did a birthday. My birthday's in July. I did a Disney themed birthday brunch that she was actually at, and she was performing in, and
It was Disney themed.
It was Disney themed, yes. And for my final look, I did like an entire like Ariel outfit, and it was the first time I ever did Ariel. I was so happy with myself. My makeup came out great. My hair was great. So I stood in it the whole day, and I hung out there, whatever. I'm leaving the bar with my boyfriend to walk to the car. There's this mother and her little boy. They're walking down the street, and the mother goes, "Oh, look, it's Ariel." And this kid just blushed and gushed. I felt like a princess at Disney World. And they were like, "Can we take a picture?" And he was like super shy, blah, blah, blah. But I took a picture with him. He looked at me, he was like, "You're really pretty." And I was just like, oh, it was the cutest thing. And the mother's just like, "Yeah, Ariel's his favorite." And I was just like, "It's mine too." So yeah, it was
He grew up to
such...
become Aquaria.
Y'all hear that?
So good.
But so yeah, that's probably like my favorite New York City story. when
That's
I was
cute.
in drag, yeah.
You just influenced like a future queen, like 10 years
Yeah.
from
And
now.
I was like,
So like I never made queen.
Right, some girl comes, she was just like, "I saw you when I was 5 and I knew what I was gonna do with my
It's-
life."
He's gonna be, that's Adore.
Your
drag daughter.
That's cute.
I love it.
That's cute.
Yeah. Okay, who's next?
Gina.
Rephrase the question again. It's like, what was a moment that
That you just made
It's
you
a
realize
special moment.
that like I like doing drag in
Well,
New York
for
City.
me, so a number that I perform a lot is I sing live, and I do Wig in a Box from Wig in the Angry Inch, which is a show that has a special place for me and for a lot of people in this city and for a lot of people in the gay community. And often when I sing that number, I'll get at least one person come to me and be like, that song means so much to me. Thank you for doing it. I've had queens tell me like, "Oh, you sing that song so much, like stop doing it." But I keep doing it just because it has that kind of power for people. And it's important to me to, I do drag because it brings out a side of me that makes me happy and expressive, and I want to be able to help people bring that out in themselves.
No.
Awesome.
That's speaking of singing live. Like I recently had I like to sing sad songs. I know, look at me, you wouldn't think. I like to sing sad songs, and
You studied opera, of course.
Right, fair, very fair.
Not as much as I do.
And, well, we're the queen of ballads.
I know.
But I recently had a brain switch where I was watching Liza Minnelli sing "But the World Goes Round," and I was like, she's having this experience where she has so much joy telling this sad story because she can share this experience with others. And so I went on stage the next night and sang Meadowlark from Baker's Wife. And it's a song that makes me sad, but I tried really hard to have joy expressing the story of this song. And one of my guests, who comes to my show all the time, but he came to me and was like, "That song means so much to me,
Right.
and please sing it again." So every time he walks into the bar, I go to my set list and I put that song on it.
Yes.
Because I know he's gonna come in and I know what it means to him, and I try every time he comes in to perform it better and to have more joy expressing the story that him and I both share. And it's so communicative, and it builds empathy with people.
Yeah, that's what we call fan service.
Right. You know me, a fan service
It's
girl.
It's true though.
Oh, me
you know.
too.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything that you wanted to pipe up with?
I do. It goes back to the story of me being a migrant, and Gilda and I always go back to the numbers and we talk about what was effective about this and what do we need to do to improve this. And there's a trend I've noticed that I do best with numbers where I go, I am here.
Yes.
I myself, and the audience also responds to that. It's like, yes, you are here, and we are here too, and we enjoy each other.
Right.
And the number which has been most effective recently is Grace Jones.
The first time I saw you do that,
You're the first one to see Baby That Night.
I was like, you need to do that more. Like, no shade, but you need to lip sync that more.
Every
It's
queen needs
so
a
good.
migrant number 2, I think.
It was
Well,
really, really good. And it was a side that I'd never seen of you before, and I was just like, I don't know, that was good. You like keep doing it.
It's fierce. It's
So-
really good. You're a powerful
I
bitch.
also love when you rap and do hip hop too. That's always fun. It's a new thing I've seen you do lately. It's really fun.
I love doing challenging lip syncs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
That's yes. She'll
Just
sit
like-
on stage and point at her mouth and just like sing the whole song away. It's so good.
And post aggressively.
Meanwhile, I'm praying people to look at my lips and I lip sync. I'm like, don't
That's what she puts the microphone. She's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Don't look at my lips.
It's so true.
I have the feeling, but not the words.
My funny story, this is the first time I really knew that I was like making it as a drag queen. This is when I was like, I have a viable future in this. And I actually wasn't even in drag. I was in Brooklyn, and randomly, this guy messages me on Grindr. And he's like, can I ask you a personal question? I'm like, of course, this is Grindr.
Right.
This is like, everything's gonna be a personal question. And he was like, are you Avant Garbage?
Yes.
And I was like, oh my god, like this man like recognized me out of drag. He must like, you know, have
He must be looking
he
real
must
hard
have
when
enough
he's on
knowledge
the
to
floor.
have
You
noticed
thought I was in the
something.
gig last night.
I was like, yes, I am Avant Garbage. Thank you very much. You've actually like just given me my first taste of celebrity. And the very next thing he said was, do you like to get fucked in drag?
Yes! Which, okay, that's a whole other thing too.
We're gonna do a cocktails and conjures episode about
Just
that.
about it.
About that. That is gonna be our next reunion topic.
I like
Ah,
it when you
there's
joke
a lot
about
to
my
talk
mom.
about there.
Also,
It's
I
fun.
recently got asked out by an Uber driver.
Yeah.
Like,
Too
no lie.
bad.
These
Well, and I think it's
drivers.
funny
You could come in your hair and it'd
What?
be fine. It'd be clean.
Oh yeah.
I think
I like
that's
it when you
story-
don't pull my mom.
It's funny. I mean, like you would funny. Like when I strive like to be a pretty queen, but like in a sort of clowny, weird way. And you obviously strive to go for sort of a trash couture look.
Yeah, there's nothing.
But I don't think anything pretty about what we do. Right? I think myself as being very clowny. Some people are like, oh, pretty. And I get when like a bartender or a bar back is like, pretty lady, they work in the club. But when like a cab driver is like, you're the most beautiful woman alive. I'm like, no, that's why I've started painting clownier and weirder and draggier and make my, you know.
Actually, I like it. I
cheeks
like it.
really
Like, I mean,
thank
you're
you.
going afraid of color.
But it's
so.
because I want to look pretty but cartoony.
Not like a woman.
Right.
Right.
Because I don't want to be seen as an object. I don't want to get fucked in drag. So
I
I really don't.
Isn't it weird that the less you look like a woman, like the less of an object you are?
Zika Parsons.
That's
is about
another
I guess, but
conversation.
Welcome to
Queens,
feminism,
like, something
right?
like that. And I mean, there's just it's crazy. Like people, it's both sides get it. I mean, you're a very you look. You
I'm softer. I'm on
you're
the softer
softer.
side.
Right,
Yeah.
so it makes sense when guys want to fuck you.
You're the Sears of them all.
Right.
Yeah, and I,
Beverly
There's
Hills
different strokes
Sears.
for
yeah, I get hit on a lot. I always tell people that my Gilda Grindr profile gets 20 times more dick pics than my Sam Grindr profile
Right.
does. Because boys, and I'll
You're
tell
still beating everyone else.
right,
around.
I'll tell a guy.
Yeah,
That's
it's
fair.
fair.
I accept right.
No, I'll tell a guy. He'll be like, "You're hot. Here's a dick pic," and I'm like, "I have a $50 appearance fee
Right.
to look like this."
I also don't have a vagina, but I guess they might want
They
that.
don't. They know that I don't
There's
have a
such a
vagina.
market. There's
They want
such a
that.
market for.
They know that I don't have a
Different
vagina.
strokes for different
Anyway,
folks, something
um,
I want.
I know. That was fun. It was like so that was this the reunion of cocktails and contours.
Is it dinner yet?
More like we need a drink.
What are our concepts about?
I know.
It was just contours.
We just photoshopped them in.
Right, we're gonna get cocktails now.
Ooh.
But anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. We've been here with Gilda Wabbit, Gina Tonic, Grate, and Avant Garbage. I'm Bella Noche. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys soon. Have a great night in New York City.
Bye.
Bye.